Welcome into the Ravens Rundown, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. Coming up on today's show, we're talking about DeAndre Hopkins, also the possibility of the Ravens trading down in the draft. Also, could Ryan Tannehill be on his way to the Ravens? Odds makers feel pretty good about the chances of him going to Baltimore. More on that coming up later. Before we do, folks, sub-battle continues with our Steelers channel and our Browns report. Sitting at a nice number of 69 right now, but obviously we can do a little bit better to catch up with those Steelers, those pesky Steelers. We need to do our part and really just take it to them and show who's boss in this division. So if you want to beat the Steelers and the Browns and own this division, but also are looking for the latest Baltimore Ravens news and rumors, this is the channel for you. We're going to be doing breakdowns during the draft, and we're going to be all over it here on Ravens Rundown. So if you're not subscribed already, you need to be. Subscribe now for free. Turn on notifications, and we'll get started with today's show. DeAndre Hopkins, the rumors are still continuing on the possibility of bringing him to Baltimore to join the Ravens. And over the weekend, Bleacher Report did a really good job of detailing the latest of this situation, where things stand right now between the Ravens and the Cardinals of possibly getting a deal done. Here's more from Christopher Knox. At this point, for the Ravens to seriously consider dealing for Hopkins, one of two things would have to happen, and maybe both. A, Baltimore would have to completely whiff on landing a quality receiver in the draft, or B, Arizona would have to agree to eat a large portion of Hopkins' salary. Baltimore might make a play for Hopkins after the draft or target him if he's released. However, this feels more like a case of the Cardinals trying to generate a trade market, or Baltimore convertingly selling to Jackson the idea that it's serious about upgrading its receiving core. Now, I'll say this. It sounds like if a deal for DeAndre Hopkins is going to go down, it would more than likely have to be after the draft. With, as Christopher Knox mentioned there, the Ravens' still first priority is trying to find receiving talent in the draft itself. And then also you factor in the possibility of him just being released. I think that the Cardinals are going to shop him for a while and see if they can get something potentially. So with that said, I would be very surprised if we are here later this week and a deal is done that sends him to Baltimore right now. The timing of it is, I think, not something we're looking at happening anytime soon, at least where things stand at the moment, but obviously things could change. Here's what you need to know as far as this situation goes. Ravens cap space is limited, just $3.9 million, and obviously they still have to sign their rookies as well. D-Hop's base salary is way more than the cap space of the Ravens right now, $19.5 million. But of that money, that $19.5 million, according to a new report from ESPN today, teams, not just the Ravens, but other teams that have shown interest in DeAndre Hopkins are unlikely to pay Hopkins' full salary. So that kind of helps the Ravens and their cause of acquiring DeAndre Hopkins, is that other teams are in the same boat of not wanting to pay. So he would have to either take a pay cut or the Cardinals take on some of that salary, whatever it may be. The situation the Ravens are in of not having a whole lot of money to spend and not wanting to pay D-Hop is very similar to other teams that are also interested in DeAndre Hopkins. So our pinned comment today, you might get an ad break, if so, take advantage of it. How likely is it that D-Hop joins the Baltimore Ravens? Tell me in the comment section. Scale it for me 1 through 10. Put a number on it, how likely you think he ends up in Baltimore, and let me know what you think in the comment section below. Trading down from the 22 overall pick. The Ravens with one first-round pick this year at that position. And according to ESPN NFL draft analyst Todd McShay, according to the sources he's talked to and looking into this situation, he says that there's a pretty decent chance this could happen, that the Ravens ultimately end up trading down. Here's more from McShay. Trading back is always a possibility with the Ravens. They could move on, and the corner I think they could look at is DJ Turner from Michigan, coached by Mike McDonald at Michigan. Ran a 4.26 at the Combine. That's pretty fast. Also had a great 2 years for Jim Harbaugh at Michigan. I have him going to the New York Giants in the first round, but there's no guarantee he's a first-round pick. So if you move down and you're the Ravens, you could look at him in the late first or early second round. And as I evaluate this draft and just scouting these players and doing our homework, I think, folks, one of the things that you'll hear get talked about a lot over the next couple of days is that once you get past the top 10 in this draft, the next tier of players from about the 11 to 45 range is not that far off, comparably speaking to what you're looking at the 1 to 10 range. There's an elite group up top, and then the next core is all pretty close to each other. So if you end up trading out of the first round or the end of the first round, you're still going to get a pretty similar player to what you'd be picking at 22 and pick up some draft capital along the way. And with the Ravens having not a whole lot of draft picks at this point, that could be a situation that makes sense. Here's more from McShay. There's not a big difference between what you're getting at 22 and 42. So I'd much rather have another pick or two later in the draft and move back, whether it's to later in the first or early in the second. The 5 picks from the Ravens included 22 overall. Then we don't hear from them again till 86, 124, 157, and 199 are the 5 picks for the Ravens as things stand right now. Should the Ravens trade down from 22? What do you think about that possibility? Tell me in the comment section. Type Y for yes, type in for no if you think the Ravens should trade down from that 22 spot or not. Tell me what you think. Y for yes or in for no. Ravens draft hats are on sale now while supplies last. You can get yours for draft night and wear them well beyond that too, whether you like the black version or the white version. We got the flat bill going for you, and these draft hats look snazzy. When somebody gets their name called on Thursday night and joins the flock, they're going to be wearing these draft hats, these officially licensed NFL draft hats that are available to you. You can be rocking with your flock out and represent your Baltimore Ravens and be wearing these same exact hats you're going to see future members of the Ravens wearing. You don't want to miss out on an opportunity to get these while supplies last. Chatsports.com/Ravens draft to get yours today. That's chatsports.com/Ravens draft. One final note before we go. Very interesting looking at a shift in the odds over the last couple of days. Odds makers, in particular at BetAG Online, put out some odds as far as the favorites to land Ryan Tannehill if he were to leave the Tennessee Titans. And of that list, the Ravens are the second highest odds. Now, obviously, the Jets, now, this was before the Rodgers deal was officially completed, but you can see the Jets were at plus 250, the Ravens at plus 300, and with the Jets out of the window now, you'd have to think that would boost the Ravens up here. The Ravens, potentially the favorites to land Tannehill at this point, if he were to leave Tennessee. That's interesting, right? I wasn't expecting to talk about Tannehill today, but sometimes the lines kind of tell us things, right? And, we saw last year with the number 1 pick in the draft that the lines were ahead of it before the insiders were. So that's what catches my attention here. Sometimes the lines are ahead of things. I'll say this. I'd be disappointed if Ryan Tannehill's the Ravens quarterback next year, whether it's your options potentially of the draft, if you were to move on from Lamar, losing out on Lamar, or other veterans that are even out there. I would be disappointed if we're sitting here and talking next season about Ryan Tannehill being the guy. I don't see it happening either. I do find it interesting that the odds are like that, but I would still be very surprised if we see that ended up being the case. What say you? Should the Ravens add Ryan Tannehill? Let's get adamant about it. Let me know in the comments section. Type HY for hell yes. Type HN for hell no. What do you think? Should the Ravens add Ryan Tannehill or not? HY for hell yes. HN for hell no. Let me know. Speaking of the NFL draft this weekend, we got you covered on our main Chat Sports channel beginning on Thursday night, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, live coverage of the NFL draft. I'll be there as well as many others from our Chat Sports crew. You want to join us all weekend long as we break down every single pick throughout the draft and do it in true Chat Sports fashion. You'll want to join us and have a good time. We'll talk plenty of Ravens on there as well. And stay tuned for that. We'll see you then on Thursday. Thanks for joining us here on the Ravens Rundown.